This is Masahiro Sakurai. Do not avert your eyes, for this is what legends look like. I don't say that lightly, as the man was director of Kirby's Dream Land at only 19 years old. Sakurai set out to make an adventure that would be welcoming to those unfamiliar with games. The project would have easy difficulty with a low barrier of entry. Kirby's Dream Land would be a commercial and critical success, being the highest selling Kirby game until it was dethroned by Kirby in the Forgotten Land in 2022. Kirby is primarily known for three things: being pink, a glutton, and copying abilities. He only does one of those in this game. Kind of. There was some initial confusion on what color Kirby actually was. Masahiro Sakurai has always intended Kirby to be pink. Due to the monochrome display of the Game Boy and a lack of communication with other team members, others on the development team did not know what color he was. Apparently Shigeru Miyamoto thought Kirby was yellow. The international box art for Kirby's Dream Land pictures the protagonist as white, while the Japanese release is pink. What a headache, but at least they got the color right in future releases. The game itself looks fantastic. I don't know how they did it, but HAL Labs was able to push the hardware to the limit for some of the cleanest pixel art I've ever seen. And then they did it again on the NES with Kirby's Adventure, but that's a story for another time. Character designs are well-rounded despite the limited number of pixels to work with. However, it does seem that Nintendo and other developers had an easier time with pixel art on the Game Boy rather than the NES as a whole. Enemies complement the art style, although I do feel like some are dangerously close designs to what may be their inspirations. I call Bronto Burt not a Goomba, and this guy looks an awful lot like another tunic-wearing, boomerang-chucking child to me. The soundtrack is iconic. I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic either. Most of these tracks have been updated or remixed into every game in the franchise. The Green Greens and Victory Dance themes as examples. HAL Labs dared to ask, why fix what isn't broken? Each track fits and helps elevate Kirby's lighthearted tone. Sound effects are standard chips and chirps for item pickup and enemy collision. Our story begins one night when King Dedede decides to steal all of Dreamland's food. To add insult to injury, he takes the sparkling stars, which prevents the denizens from being able to harvest. It was bad enough he took what they already had, but he had to make it so they would starve too. What a jerk. Anywho, Kirby isn't having that and decides that he'll take care of the issue. Kirby moves a little slow for my liking. I guess he's fighting a food coma from eating too many enemies. The A button is used to jump, while the B button is used to inhale enemies. If Kirby is savoring an enemy like a Jolly Rancher, B can be pressed again to spit them out. Pressing up on the directional pad causes Kirby to puff up. Additional presses will allow him to take flight. If B is pressed while rotund, he will spit an air bullet. That's some stanky breath. You might have noticed Kirby doesn't have his signature copy ability. That's because he doesn't have it in his debut. This blew my mind as a child because I played Kirby's Adventure first, where the copy ability originated. Levels are designed to encourage all movement options available. You're not going to be flying across the entire level due to multiple aerial enemies, nor are you going to be running and jumping your way to victory due to lengthy chasms or out-of-reach doorways. There are 5 different stages in the game, the first being Green Greens, which is a forest level. Second is Castle Lololo, a medieval castle. Once done there, Kirby will go to the Float Islands and make his way into Bubbly Sky via a whale's blowhole. No, I'm not joking. The increased altitude will allow him direct access to Mount Dedede, which is just a boss gauntlet with the final confrontation. I love there's a connection to get from stage to stage. Castle Lololo to Float Islands is the weak link, as you're just kind of fishing after beating the boss. But the others are fantastic. There's these cute intros for every level too. HAL Labs went above and beyond in my opinion. Let's talk items and power-ups. Kirby has a maximum of 6 health points. This can be replenished with Pep Brew, which will refill up to 3 health. Alternatively, there's the Maximum Tomato, which will refill all missing health. Tomatoes have very little protein. How is this filling? 1-ups will add another life. However, this game is painfully easy. I only died once during my initial playthrough. The extra game mode is another story. There's a couple one-time use items that I don't consider power-ups. The microphone will clear all enemies out on the screen. Kirby cannot carry a tune in a paper bag, so when he sings into the microphone, all enemies decide to stop existing. There's bombs laying on the ground that can be inhaled and spit back out. Unlike enemies and air bullets, these bombs will continue after colliding with an enemy, destroying any foes in its path. There are 3 power-ups in the game. The invincibility candy that gives Kirby a sugar high. He's faster and invincible while the candy is active. Super spicy curry, which will allow him to spit fire at a rapid rate. It's good to see a visual representation of how I feel when I eat spicy food. Finally, the mint leaf will force Kirby to puff up and have infinite air bullets for the duration. Spitting air bullets will not cause Kirby to deflate while the mint leaf is active. Each stage has a mini-boss and boss. Some mini-bosses are an initial confrontation with the stage's boss. Lololo and Krako both size up Kirby once before truly giving him the business. Wispy Woods and Krako have been in almost every entry of the series, starting here. It's truly amazing how many series staples were conceived from the start. Kirby will need to spit projectiles onto the bosses to defeat them while studying their patterns for openings. Once beaten, a sparkling star will be reclaimed and take you to the next stage. The game is short, incredibly short. I beat it in 25 minutes. However, there is an extra game mode that is a hard mode. This is not for the faint of heart. The difficulty spike is quite the jump, with enemies being extremely fast or unpredictable. Some sections require memorization because there is simply not enough time to react. I mean, look at this. Enemies have new designs and bosses will have updated their tactics. It took me roughly an hour to beat hard mode, and it tested my patience. Hard mode's difficulty spike is frustrating, but ultimately a satisfying experience. Beating this new adventure will show you how to access config mode, which allows you to adjust maximum health and number of lives, as well as access to a sound test. Kirby's premiere game is still worth playing today. At the time of recording this video, the game is available to play on Nintendo Switch Online with a subscription. If you have access, I recommend checking it out to experience Kirby's origins. Do you like Kirby? What's your favorite game in the franchise? Let me know in a comment down below. If you like this content, please like and subscribe as I am trying to grow the channel. I'm Frank Fortune, and this has been Let Me Be Frank. I relish you being here, and I hope to see you next time.